talk some politics now. After Erin O'Toole was ousted as Conservative Party leader last week, the party appears to be quickly moving to replace him and the changes that he brought. Jamie Ellerton's a principal at Kanapta's Public Relations and a frequent contributor to CP24. He joined us now this morning live here on Breakfast. Jamie, nice to see you here. Let's talk first about O'Toole's replacement, Candice Bergen, moving in as the interim leader. That means she can't be the permanent leader of the party, but Candice Bergen is an interesting candidate here as the leader of the party, Jamie. You know, the famous MAGA hat picture is one thing, of course, but also, you know, she came from a riding where the PPC ate into a lot of her vote in the last election. So she brings a different perspective, I think, to the Conservatives. How do you assess Candice Bergen?
Yeah, I think if I look at what Candice's role here in the weeks ahead, it's to actually keep the team together and to really lead the Conservative Party in Parliament. She has experience in the House leadership team. She gets how the House of Commons works, not just the high-profile question period that most people tend to see clipped on the evening news and on newscasts like yours, Nick, but also all the parliamentary functions that go with that, including committees. So she's widely respected and well-liked throughout the caucus. She's a very conservative from Manitoba, and this role, I think, maybe some will compare her to Rona Ambrose. I don't think she'll be quite as high-profile, because I just think the nature coming out of the 2015 election loss is quite different than where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. A different position indeed. I wonder, Jamie, your assessment of the Conservative Party, some people are suggesting it's getting too cozy with the convoy and, of course, what's been happening in Ottawa lately. How do you see how the Conservatives are handling or managing the sort of connections, relations with the convoy?
Yeah, I think you're already starting to see the public opinion shift in how people are talking about this shift. It started as truckers opposing vaccine mandates, and it now seems like every fringe cause under the sun has latched themselves onto this. So I think when I was actually up in Northern Ontario this weekend exploring the ice caves with my husband on Lake Superior, and when you hear people talk about what they think the convoy is, those who support it, it's trying to push back against some of the overreach we've seen, 2 years of pandemic restrictions, and trying to claim a sense of normalcy back with their lives and not wanting to have government mandates as it relates to vaccines. But when you look closely beneath the surface at some of those organizing, some of them have very nefarious means and objectives. And I think there's kind of that nuanced view that actually assesses what they're saying more in private, but still publicly available, versus what you're kind of seeing the plurality trying to speak against. And so I think there's a real difficulty here for the Conservative Party to how they speak to those Canadians who are frustrated with never-ending pandemic restrictions and looking for a path out of this back to normalcy, while disassociating themselves from the, frankly, fringe and very radical views that some of the organizers are expressing.
I think there's no doubt. I mean, there is frustration across all of Canada. I mean, none of us want to live like we have lived for the last couple of years. But the term freedom continues to come up, you know, freedom convoy, freedom this, looking for freedoms. I understand the sort of concept of freedom, of course, but I found it really interesting. Pierre Poilievre is now the first member of the Conservative Party to sort of throw his name into the ring. He doesn't even say he's running for party leader, he said he's running to be prime minister. But again, throughout that sort of 3-minute video he put out on Twitter, a lot of references to freedom, which again seems to link to what's happening in Ottawa right now. I wonder, A, what you think about Pierre Poilievre and his chances, and B, that sort of tying so much to freedom.
Yeah, so much about politics is timing and aligning yourself with the moment to kind of get people behind you. So I think if you look at what Pierre Poilievre has done this week, it's clear for quite some time that he has grander aspirations. And I think the only real debate right now with the Conservative Party is whether this is going to be a Pierre Poilievre coronation or if this is actually going to be a competitive leadership race. You saw a lot of people, including Thornhill MP Melissa Lantsman, former Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird, and other members of caucus like Marilyn Gladu and Sarnia come out and support him quick out of the gate, amongst many others, while no one else has kind of stepped forward. Now, of course, Erin O'Toole's body, the throne, if you will, 72 hours afterwards is not a lot of time. We don't even know what the rules are. But I think the Poilievre strategy here is to essentially get out fast, have a real strong showing of force, to essentially try and dissuade others from even entering their names in the ring.
What do you think needs to happen, though, for the Conservative Party, Jamie, you know, going forward? Is this an opportunity to kind of reassess what this party is all about? Because Erin O'Toole, well, A, campaigned as leader one way, sort of seemed to campaign in the election another way, and then and here we are, he's been ousted.
Yeah, so I think there's a real kind of a bit of crossroads for the Conservative Party right now, and I think Pierre is already trying to bridge that divide. There's no doubt there's definition within the Conservative ranks. You look at a lot of polling issues, and you'll see 80-2 or 4-1 with most other parties on any given issue. And with the Conservatives, it's often around 50-50. And so I think part of what you need to see the Conservatives do is, yes, people are frustrated. Yes, people are angry, and people are looking for some normalcy. But what the Conservatives need to get back to doing is putting solutions in the window. How is the Conservative Party going to create impact for the lives of day-to-day Canadians in a way that brings people to the Conservative viewpoint and applying Conservative principles to today's problems. I think if the Conservative Party is going to continue to kind of foment some of the anger that you're seeing in this reaction and fuel fires of division, I think they're going to, yes, get them, but it's not going to be a constructive political force, because I think, as you see with even things like vaccine mandates and other COVID restrictions, the vast majority of Canadians do support them. So for the Conservative Party to be successful, whether that's led by Pierre Poilievre or somebody else, the party needs to get back to finishing the sentence and saying what our policies are going to do that actually makes the lives of others better and the impact that's going to create. If it's just all rage against Justin Trudeau all the time, yes, you're going to have a noisy bunch that feel very high and mighty and maybe get charged on that crowd, that energy of the crowd, but it's not going to actually lead to holding power, and that means staying on the opposition benches for some time to come.
That's certainly something we'll be watching for some time to come as well. Jamie Ellerton, principal at Kanaptis and Conservative strategist, thanks for the time this morning.
Thanks, Nick. Have a good week.